The dust settled around Priscilla Jones as she clutched her 3-month-old daughter closer to her chest, shielding the infant from the relentless Nevada sun. Blood still stained her skirts from the birth that nearly killed them both, and grief etched deep lines into her 20-year-old face. The year was 1875, and she had never felt more alone in her life. "Hush now, Lily," she whispered, rocking the whimpering baby. "We'll find somewhere safe, I promise." Promises. Priscilla had heard enough of those to last a lifetime. Thomas had promised to marry her when he discovered she was carrying his child. Then he disappeared, leaving her with nothing but a growing belly and whispers following her through town. Her own parents had disowned her, unable to bear the shame of an unwed daughter. Priscilla adjusted the thin blanket around Lily's face and continued walking along the dusty road. She had been traveling for 3 days, since being forced to leave the boarding house in Silver Creek when she couldn't pay the rent. Her meager belongings were packed in a single carpet bag, growing heavier with each step. The distant shape of buildings on the horizon gave her a flicker of hope. Cottonwood Springs, if she remembered the stagecoach driver's directions correctly. Just a small settlement, but perhaps there would be work. Any work. She needed to feed her daughter. The afternoon heat pounded against her bonnet as she trudged forward. Lily had grown quiet, which worried her more than the crying. Priscilla stopped beneath a scraggly cottonwood tree, one of the few sources of shade, and checked on her baby. The infant's face was flushed, her tiny body too warm. "Oh no, no, please," Priscilla whispered, panic rising in her chest. She dampened a cloth with water from her nearly empty canteen and pressed it gently to Lily's forehead. "Just a little farther, my love. Hold on." The sound of approaching hoofbeats made her stiffen. Travelers could mean help or danger. A lone woman with a baby was vulnerable in ways Priscilla had learned all too well these past months. She straightened her back and turned to face whoever was coming. A man on horseback approached, leading a pack horse laden with supplies. He slowed as he spotted her beneath the tree, and Priscilla instinctively pulled Lily closer to her chest. "Madam," he called, tipping his hat. "You all right out here?" He was tall, with broad shoulders and sun-bronzed skin. Dark hair curled beneath his hat, and a short beard covered his jaw. Not a drifter, his clothes were worn but clean, his horse well cared for. "We're fine," Priscilla lied, even as Lily let out a pitiful mewl. "Just resting before heading into town." The man dismounted, moving with the easy grace of someone accustomed to life in the saddle. Up close, she could see his eyes were a deep green, currently narrowed with concern. "Name's Vaughn Adler," he said, keeping a respectful distance. "My ranch is just a few miles from here. That little one doesn't sound too good." Priscilla hesitated, torn between pride and desperation. "She's just warm from the sun. We'll be fine once we reach town." Vaughn glanced at the road ahead. "Cottonwood Springs is still 5 miles out, madam, and your little one needs shade and water sooner than that." His voice was gentle, lacking the judgment she'd grown accustomed to. "I'd be happy to give you both a ride." Lily whimpered again, her face growing redder. Priscilla felt tears threatening. 5 more miles in this heat might be too much. "I don't accept charity," she said stiffly. Vaughn's expression remained kind. "Not charity, just being neighborly. These parts can be unforgiving if you don't know them well." He gestured to his horses. "I've got clean water, shade, and my sister-in-law's a fine hand with babies. She's at the ranch now, helping out while my brother's away on a cattle drive." Priscilla looked down at Lily's flushed face, then back to the dusty road stretching endlessly ahead. Her daughter's life was worth more than her pride. "Thank you," she finally said. Vaughn nodded, retrieving her carpetbag and securing it to his pack horse before returning to help her mount his own horse. With practiced care, he handed Lily back to her once she was settled, then swung up behind her, maintaining a respectful distance while still supporting her with one arm. "Hold tight to your little one," he instructed, clicking to the horse. "Cottonwood's a decent enough place, but if you don't mind my asking, do you have folks waiting for you there?" "No," Priscilla admitted. "I was hoping to find work." Vaughn was quiet for a moment. "Work's scarce in town right now. Droughts hit everyone hard this year." He paused. "My sister-in-law could use help with the cooking and sewing while she's expecting. It's not much, but there's a small cabin you could use until you find something better." Priscilla stiffened. "I told you I don't. It's not charity," Vaughn interrupted gently. "It's honest work for fair pay, and a safe place for your little one." Lily stirred against her chest, letting out another distressed sound. Priscilla closed her eyes briefly, swallowing her pride. "Just until I find something else," she conceded. "Yes, madam," Vaughn replied, and she could hear the smile in his voice without turning to see it. They rode in silence for a while, the rhythmic movement of the horse lulling Lily into a fitful sleep. As they crested a small rise, Priscilla gasped. Below them stretched a picturesque valley, a stream cutting through green pastures where cattle grazed. A modest but well-maintained ranch house stood near a cluster of outbuildings, smoke curling from its chimney. "Welcome to Willow Creek Ranch," Vaughn said. "Been in my family for 15 years now." The horse picked its way down the slope toward the ranch. As they approached, a heavily pregnant woman emerged from the house, shading her eyes against the sun. "Vaughn Adler, what have you brought home this time?" she called, her tone more curious than accusatory. "Someone who needs our help, Hannah," Vaughn replied, dismounting before carefully helping Priscilla down, mindful of the baby in her arms. Hannah approached, her face softening as she caught sight of Lily. "Oh, the poor dear is overheated. Bring her inside, quickly." Priscilla followed Hannah into the ranch house, the cool interior a blessed relief after the punishing sun. The home was simple but comfortable, with handmade furniture and cheerful curtains at the windows. "I'm Hannah Adler," the woman said, guiding Priscilla to a rocking chair. "My husband Daniel is Vaughn's brother. Let me see the little one." Reluctantly, Priscilla allowed Hannah to examine Lily. The woman's hands were gentle and sure as she checked the baby. "She's dehydrated and overheated, but nothing we can't fix," Hannah pronounced. "I'll make some sugar water. It'll help her perk up." While Hannah bustled around the kitchen, Vaughn entered with Priscilla's carpet bag, setting it beside her chair. "I'll be out seeing to the horses," he said. "You're in good hands with Hannah." As he turned to leave, Priscilla found her voice. "Mr. Adler," he paused, looking back. "Thank you," she said simply. Vaughn nodded, a small smile crossing his face before he stepped back outside. Hannah returned with a small cup of sugar water and a damp cloth. "Here, let me show you how to give her just a little at a time." "What's her name?" "Lily," Priscilla answered. "And I'm Priscilla Jones." "Beautiful names for beautiful girls," Hannah said kindly, demonstrating how to let tiny amounts of the sweet liquid drip into Lily's mouth. "How old is she?" 3 months, Priscilla replied, watching as color gradually returned to her daughter's cheeks. Hannah nodded. "And her father, is he?" She trailed off delicately. "Not in the picture," Priscilla said flatly. Hannah's expression held no judgment. "Well, you found a safe place to rest a while. The cabin Vaughn mentioned is just behind the main house. It's small, but it's clean and comfortable. My husband's parents lived there before they passed." "I don't want to impose," Priscilla began. "Nonsense," Hannah interrupted. "With this one coming," she patted her round belly, "and Daniel away on the cattle drive, I could use the help. Vaughn does his best, bless him, but there are some things a woman just understands better." Lily had fallen into a more peaceful sleep, her breathing easier. Priscilla felt some of the tension leave her shoulders. "I can cook, clean, so whatever you need," she offered. "I'm a hard worker." "I don't doubt it," Hannah replied, her eyes kind. "You've already done the hardest job of all, bringing this little one into the world and keeping her safe." For the first time in months, Priscilla felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps here in this unexpected place, she and Lily might find a temporary haven. The sound of boots on the porch announced Vaughn's return. He stepped inside, removing his hat. "Everything all right in here?" "The little one's doing better already," Hannah reported. "I was just telling Priscilla about the cabin." Vaughn nodded. "I've opened the windows to air it out. It'll be cool enough by evening." "Thank you," Priscilla said again, finding herself strangely comforted by his steady presence. "It's nothing," he replied, his gaze lingering on Lily's sleeping face with an expression Priscilla couldn't quite read. "I'll bring your things over whenever you're ready." That evening, after a simple but filling dinner, Priscilla found herself settled in the small cabin behind the main house. True to Vaughn's word, it was clean and comfortable, with a single bedroom, a small living area with a fireplace, and a basic kitchen. Hannah had provided fresh linens for the bed and a small cradle that had once belonged to Vaughn and Daniel. Lily, recovered from her ordeal and with a full belly, slept peacefully in the cradle beside the bed. Priscilla sat in a rocking chair by the window, watching the stars appear in the darkening sky. A soft knock at the door startled her. She opened it to find Vaughn standing there, a lantern in one hand and a small bundle in the other. "Sorry to disturb you," he said. "Hannah sent these over some of her old nightgowns she thought might fit you, and a few things for the baby." "That's very kind," Priscilla said, accepting the bundle. "Please thank her for me." Vaughn nodded, then hesitated. "Is there anything else you need?" Priscilla thought of all the things she needed: security, certainty, a future for her daughter, none of which this kind stranger could provide. "We're fine, thank you," she said softly. "All right then. Good night, Miss Jones." "Good night, Mr. Adler." As she closed the door, Priscilla leaned against it, suddenly overwhelmed by the events of the day. From the brink of disaster to this unexpected haven, it seemed too good to be true. Experience had taught her that kindness often came with hidden costs. But for tonight, at least, Lily was safe and comfortable. Tomorrow would bring what it would. The next morning dawned clear and already warm. Priscilla rose early, dressed in one of her 2 worn dresses, and prepared for her first day of work. Lily, refreshed after a good night's sleep, gurgled happily as Priscilla changed and fed her. "We'll make this work, little one," she promised, kissing Lily's forehead. "Just for a while, until we can stand on our own again." A knock at the door revealed Hannah, looking fresh despite her advanced pregnancy. "Good morning. I thought you might join us for breakfast before we start the day's work," she said cheerfully. Priscilla hesitated only briefly before gathering Lily and following Hannah to the main house. Inside, Vaughn was already seated at the table, a cup of coffee in hand. He stood when they entered, nodding politely. "Morning," he said, his eyes lingering on Lily's face. "Looks like someone's feeling better today." "Yes, thank you," Priscilla replied, settling Lily in her arms as she took a seat. Breakfast was hearty eggs, bacon, and fresh biscuits that Hannah had risen early to prepare. As they ate, Hannah outlined the work that needed doing around the ranch. "With Daniel gone and me in this condition," she patted her belly, "things have fallen behind. The vegetable garden needs tending, there's mending to be done, and the pantry needs organizing before winter." "I can handle all of that," Priscilla assured her. "And I'll watch little Lily when you need your hands free," Hannah added. "It'll be good practice for me." Vaughn cleared his throat. "I'll be working on the north pasture fence today. Had some problems with coyotes getting at the calves." The day fell into an easy rhythm. Priscilla worked in the garden through the cooler morning hours, Lily napping in a basket beside her. Hannah taught her the layout of the ranch and its routines, grateful for the help. By midday, when the sun was high and hot, they retreated to the coolness of the house. Priscilla helped prepare lunch and was surprised when Vaughn returned from his work in the fields. "I like to check on things midday," he explained, washing up at the pump outside before joining them. "And Hannah's cooking is worth the ride back." Hannah laughed. "Flattery will get you everywhere, brother-in-law." As they ate, Vaughn inquired about Priscilla's background. She shared only the barest details, that she had come from Pennsylvania, that her parents had passed a lie but easier than the truth, and that she had been traveling west seeking opportunities. "And Lily's father?" Hannah asked gently. Priscilla stiffened. "He made promises he didn't keep." A look passed between Hannah and Vaughn, but neither pressed further. "Well, his loss is our gain," Hannah said brightly. "We're happy to have you both here." After lunch, Vaughn returned to his work and Priscilla continued with hers. By evening, she was exhausted but satisfied with all she had accomplished. The garden was weeded, a stack of mending completed, and she had helped Hannah prepare a stew for dinner. Days passed in similar fashion, falling into a comfortable routine. Priscilla found herself warming to Hannah's friendly nature, and even Vaughn's quiet presence. He was often busy with ranch work, but he made time each day to check on them, sometimes bringing small treasures for Lily, a tiny wooden horse he had carved, a colorful stone from the creek. At night, alone in the cabin with Lily, Priscilla would contemplate their situation. The work was honest, the people kind, but she couldn't stay forever. This wasn't her home, and she had learned the hard way not to rely on the kindness of others, especially men. 2 weeks after their arrival, the peace of the ranch was disrupted by the arrival of a rider. Priscilla was hanging laundry when she heard the hoofbeats approaching. Instinctively, she glanced toward the house where Hannah was inside with Lily. The rider was a stranger, a hard-faced man with a week's growth of beard. He dismounted near the corral where Vaughn was working with a young horse. "Looking for Vaughn Adler," the man called. Vaughn stepped out of the corral, his stance wary. "That's me." Priscilla moved closer to the house, wanting to be near Lily if there was trouble. "Name's Mitch Calhoun," the stranger said. "I work for James Blackwell over at Raven Ridge Ranch." Vaughn's expression hardened. "What does Blackwell want with me?" "He's offering to buy your water rights. Creek on your property feeds into his land. He's willing to pay fair price." "Not interested," Vaughn said flatly. "That water's what keeps this ranch alive." Calhoun shrugged. "Blackwell figured you'd say that. Wanted me to remind you that times are hard. Droughts hit everyone. Man on his own might find it difficult to keep a ranch running." The implied threat hung in the air. Priscilla watched Vaughn's shoulders tense. "My brother will be back with the herd in a few weeks," Vaughn replied evenly. "We're doing just fine." "Sure about that?" Calhoun's gaze drifted toward Priscilla, then the house where Hannah and Lily were. "Lot of responsibility protecting a place like this, people you care about." Vaughn stepped forward, his voice low. "You can tell Blackwell my answer is no. And if he sends anyone else to threaten my family, they won't ride away as easily as you're about to." The tension was palpable as the two men stared at each other. Finally, Calhoun shrugged and mounted his horse. "Your funeral, Adler," he said, before turning his horse and riding away. Vaughn watched until he disappeared from sight, then approached Priscilla, his expression concerned. "You all right? Who was that man?" she asked, her heart still racing. "What did he want?" Vaughn sighed, removing his hat to run a hand through his hair. "James Blackwell owns the largest ranch in the territory. He's been trying to buy up all the smaller spreads, especially those with water access. There's been a drought for 2 years now, and water's becoming more valuable than gold. And he threatened you, Priscilla observed. It wouldn't be the first time, Vaughn admitted. But don't worry, we can handle Blackwell. Priscilla wasn't so sure. She had seen men like Blackwell before, powerful, ruthless, accustomed to getting their way, and she had brought danger to these kind people's doorstep. Maybe Lily and I should move on, she suggested. Go to Cottonwood Springs as I'd planned. Vaughn's expression softened. Is that what you want? No, she realized with surprise. It wasn't what she wanted at all. In just 2 short weeks, this place had begun to feel like a home. I don't want to bring trouble to you and Hannah, she said instead. Blackwell was trouble long before you arrived, Vaughn assured her, and we're safer with you here. Hannah needs the help, especially with the baby coming soon. He paused. Unless you're unhappy here, no, Priscilla admitted. It's just, I'm not used to staying in one place, not anymore. Vaughn studied her face. Sometimes the hardest thing is letting yourself belong somewhere. His words struck her deeply. Belonging. It had been so long since she had felt that. Think about it, he said gently. No need to decide anything today. For now, you and Lily are welcome here for as long as you want to stay. That night, Priscilla couldn't sleep. The encounter with Calhoun had unsettled her more than she wanted to admit. She paced the small cabin, checking on Lily repeatedly though the baby slept peacefully. A sound outside made her freeze. Moving to the window, she peered into the darkness. A figure moved near the barn, too large to be Hannah. Vaughn, then. What was he doing up so late? Curiosity got the better of her. Making sure Lily was secure in her cradle, Priscilla slipped outside, pulling a shawl around her shoulders against the cool night air. She made her way quietly toward the barn. The door was ajar, a lantern casting a warm glow inside. Vaughn stood at a workbench, his back to her, working on something she couldn't see. Mr. Adler, she called softly, not wanting to startle him. He turned quickly, his hand moving to his side where she noticed a pistol holstered. Recognizing her, he relaxed. Miss Jones, is everything all right? Is Lily? She's fine, Priscilla assured him. I couldn't sleep and saw you out here. Vaughn nodded, turning back to the workbench. Sometimes I work at night when I can't sleep either. Priscilla moved closer, curious. On the bench lay several pieces of wood, partially carved and sanded smooth. What are you making? A cradle, he admitted. For Hannah's baby, it was supposed to be a surprise. Priscilla examined the pieces. The wood was beautiful, the craftsmanship excellent. It's lovely. You're very skilled, Vaughn shrugged. My father taught me. He was a carpenter before he became a rancher. He ran his hand over the curved headboard. He always said working with wood helped clear his mind. And does it clear your mind? Vaughn's green eyes met hers. Sometimes, not tonight. Because of Blackwell, she guessed. He nodded. He's becoming more aggressive. This drought has made him desperate, and desperate men are dangerous. What will you do? Protect what's mine, he said simply. Then, more gently, and those under my care. The way he looked at her made Priscilla's heart beat faster. There was something in his eyes she hadn't seen in a man's gaze before, not desire or calculation, but genuine concern. I should get back to Lily, she said, suddenly uncomfortable with the intimacy of the moment. Of course. Vaughn stepped back. Good night, Miss Jones. Good night, Mr. Adler. As she walked back to the cabin, Priscilla couldn't shake the image of Vaughn's hands, strong and gentle, creating something beautiful from raw materials. Or the way he had looked at her, as if she mattered. It was dangerous to think that way. Men made promises they didn't keep. Vaughn Adler might be kind, but that didn't mean she could trust him with her heart, or worse, with Lily's future. Still, as she checked on her sleeping daughter one more time before crawling into bed, Priscilla found herself wondering what it might be like to belong here, truly belong, not just as a hired hand but as something more. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. The next morning, Priscilla woke to the sound of Lily's hungry cries. As she fed her daughter, she tried to push away the confusing thoughts about Vaughn that had kept her awake much of the night. She had work to do, and daydreaming about a man who had simply shown her basic kindness wouldn't help her situation. After breakfast, Hannah asked Priscilla to accompany her into town for supplies. "It's market day in Cottonwood Springs," she explained, "and I could use the help carrying things in my condition." Of course, Priscilla agreed, secretly glad for the chance to see the town she had been heading toward when Vaughn found them. Vaughn hitched up the wagon and helped both women aboard, carefully handing Lily up to Priscilla once she was seated. "Be careful in town," he warned. "Blackwell's men often go in for supplies on market day." "We'll be fine," Hannah assured him. "Back before sundown." The ride to Cottonwood Springs took just over an hour. Priscilla watched the landscape roll by, Lily content in her arms. The town, when they reached it, was indeed small, a single main street lined with basic businesses. A general store, a saloon, a small hotel, a blacksmith, and a few other establishments. "Not much to look at," Hannah admitted as they pulled up in front of the general store, "but it serves its purpose." Inside the store, Priscilla helped Hannah select the supplies they needed: flour, sugar, coffee, and other staples. The shopkeeper, a friendly older man named Mr. Peterson, greeted Hannah warmly. "Mrs. Adler, good to see you. Getting close to your time, I see." "Another month yet, Mr. Peterson," Hannah replied with a smile. "This is Miss Jones and her daughter Lily. They're staying with us at the ranch." Mr. Peterson tipped his hat to Priscilla. "Welcome to Cottonwood Springs, Miss Jones. Any friend of the Adlers is a friend of mine." As they shopped, Priscilla noticed several men enter the store, their manner rough and their eyes cold. They wore guns openly and carried themselves with arrogant confidence. "Blackwell's men," Hannah whispered, noticing Priscilla's attention. "Just ignore them." Easier said than done when one of them approached, blocking their path to the counter. "Mrs. Adler," he said, his tone falsely polite. "And who's your pretty friend? Excuse us, Mr. Reid," Hannah said firmly. "We're just finishing our shopping." Reid's gaze lingered on Priscilla and Lily. "Didn't know the Adlers were taking in strays now." Priscilla stiffened, but before she could respond, another voice cut in. "That's enough, Reid." The speaker was a woman, tall and elegantly dressed despite the frontier setting. Her dark hair was pulled back severely, emphasizing sharp features and intelligent eyes. "Your manners disgrace you." Reid backed away immediately. "Sorry, Mrs. Blackwell, meant no offense." The woman, Mrs. Blackwell, approached Priscilla and Hannah. "Forgive my husband's employee, he forgets himself." She extended a gloved hand to Priscilla. "Victoria Blackwell." Priscilla shifted Lily to accept the handshake. "Priscilla Jones, and this beautiful child is yours?" Victoria asked, her expression softening as she looked at Lily. "Yes, my daughter Lily." Victoria nodded, then turned to Hannah. "How are you feeling, Mrs. Adler? Your time is approaching, I understand." "I'm well, thank you," Hannah replied, her tone polite but cautious. "Good. If you need anything, a doctor, medicine, please don't hesitate to send word to Raven Ridge. Whatever disputes exist between our husbands, I would never see a woman in need go without help." With that, Victoria Blackwell nodded to them both and swept out of the store, her men following like obedient dogs. "That was unexpected," Priscilla murmured once they were gone. Hannah sighed. "Victoria Blackwell is complicated. She's not like her husband, but she's formidable in her own way. Some say she's the real power behind Raven Ridge Ranch." They finished their shopping quickly after that and loaded the supplies into the wagon. As they prepared to leave town, Priscilla noticed a bulletin board outside the sheriff's office. A flyer caught her eye, a familiar face staring back at her. Thomas, the father of her child, wanted for fraud and theft in 3 territories. Her blood ran cold. If he was in the area. "Priscilla, are you ready?" Hannah called from the wagon. Priscilla tore her gaze away from the wanted poster. "Yes, coming." All the way back to the ranch, Priscilla's mind raced. If Thomas was in the territory, he might hear about her. Would he come looking for her and Lily? Not out of fatherly concern, she was certain, but perhaps out of fear she might identify him to the authorities. When they arrived back at the ranch, Vaughn was waiting, his expression concerned. "You're late. I was about to come looking for you." "We're fine," Hannah assured him. "Just ran into some interesting company in town." As Vaughn helped unload the supplies, Hannah filled him in on their encounter with Victoria Blackwell. Priscilla remained quiet, her mind still on the wanted poster. "Are you all right?" Vaughn asked her quietly as they carried packages into the house. "You seem troubled." Priscilla hesitated. Should she tell him about Thomas? About the danger that might be coming their way because of her? "I'm just tired," she lied. "It was a long day." Vaughn studied her face, clearly not believing her. "If there's something bothering you, Miss Jones, I hope you know you can trust me." Trust. Such a simple word for such a complicated concept. "Thank you," she said. "But really, I'm fine." That night, after putting Lily to bed, Priscilla sat by the window of her cabin, watching the main house where lights still burned. She had a decision to make. Stay and potentially bring danger to these people who had shown her nothing but kindness, or leave and face an uncertain future alone with her daughter. A knock at the door startled her from her thoughts. Opening it, she found Vaughn standing there, a small package in his hands. "I saw this in town last week," he said, extending the package to her. "Thought Lily might like it." Curious, Priscilla unwrapped the brown paper to reveal a small stuffed bear, beautifully made with soft fabric. "Mr. Adler, this is too much," she protested, though her fingers caressed the toy. "It's nothing," he insisted. "Just a small gift for Lily." Priscilla looked up at him, really looked, and saw the earnestness in his eyes. This wasn't a man with ulterior motives. This was simply a good man doing a kind thing. "Would you like to come in?" she found herself asking. Vaughn hesitated, then nodded. Just for a moment. Inside, he stood somewhat awkwardly in the small living area, his hat in his hands. Priscilla placed the bear in Lily's cradle where the baby slept peacefully. "She'll love it when she wakes," Priscilla said softly. "I'm glad." Vaughn cleared his throat. "Miss Jones, Priscilla, I wanted to ask you something." Her heart beat faster at his use of her first name. "Yes. I noticed you seemed upset after town today. If someone there bothered you or if there's trouble." Priscilla sighed. Perhaps it was time for honesty. "I saw a wanted poster for Lily's father." Vaughn's expression darkened. "Is he dangerous to me?" "Perhaps. He's wanted for fraud and theft. He promised me marriage when he learned I was expecting. Then he disappeared with my savings and my family's good silver." She looked away, ashamed. "My parents disowned me when they learned I was with child and unmarried. I've been on my own since." Vaughn was quiet for a long moment. "You've been very brave," he finally said. "Taking care of Lily on your own, making your way out here." His words, so simple and yet so validating, broke something inside her. Tears filled her eyes. "I'm afraid," she admitted. "If he learns I'm here, that Lily exists, I don't know what he might do." Vaughn moved closer, his presence solid and reassuring. "You don't have to face this alone anymore, Priscilla. I won't let him hurt you or Lily." She looked up at him, this man she had known for such a short time who was offering her protection with such conviction. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do that for us?" Vaughn's eyes met hers, open and honest. "Because in the short time you've been here, you've become important to me, both of you." The admission hung in the air between them, fraught with meaning. Priscilla's heart hammered in her chest. "I should go," Vaughn said softly. "It's late." "Yes," she agreed, though part of her wanted him to stay. At the door, he paused. "If you see him, Lily's father, or if anything makes you uneasy, you come to me, day or night. Promise me." "I promise," Priscilla said. After he left, she stood by the door for a long time, her mind and heart in turmoil. Vaughn Adler was unlike any man she had ever known. Kind, honorable, generous. The way he looked at her made her feel seen, truly seen, for perhaps the first time in her life. And that was dangerous. Because she had believed in a man before, and it had nearly destroyed her. The next morning, Hannah went into labor. It was 3 weeks early, and it happened quickly. One moment she was helping Priscilla prepare breakfast. The next she was doubled over, clutching her belly. "The baby," she gasped. "It's coming. Too soon." Priscilla helped her to the bedroom while Vaughn ran to saddle a horse. "I'll fetch the doctor from town," he said, his face pale with worry. "There's no time," Hannah cried. "This baby is coming now." Priscilla had assisted at births before, helping the midwife in her hometown, but she had never delivered a baby herself. "I'll help you," she told Hannah, "but we need hot water, clean linens." Vaughn, seeing the determination in her face, nodded. "Tell me what you need." For the next hour, Priscilla directed Vaughn as they prepared for the birth. Then she sent him from the room, focusing all her attention on Hannah. "You can do this," she encouraged as Hannah fought through the contractions. "Your baby is strong just like you." The labor was difficult. Hannah was exhausted, and Priscilla worried the early arrival might mean complications. But finally, with a last powerful push, Hannah's son entered the world, small but perfect, with a healthy cry that filled the room. "A boy," Priscilla announced, cleaning the infant quickly before placing him on Hannah's chest. "A beautiful, strong boy." Hannah wept with joy, cradling her son. "Thank you," she whispered. "I couldn't have done this without you." Priscilla cleaned up as best she could, then went to find Vaughn, who was pacing anxiously in the living room, Lily in his arms. The sight stopped her in her tracks. Vaughn Adler, strong and capable, holding her daughter with such tenderness, speaking to her softly as she reached for his beard with tiny fingers. "Hannah has a son," Priscilla announced. "They're both doing well." Vaughn's face lit up with joy. "A boy, Daniel, will be over the moon." He looked down at Lily. "You hear that, little one? You have a new friend." Priscilla's heart swelled at the sight of them together. It was a picture of what might have been, in another life, a loving father with his child. "Can I see them?" Vaughn asked. "Of course. Hannah's asking for you." Vaughn carefully handed Lily back to Priscilla, his fingers brushing hers in the exchange. The touch sent warmth through her, a feeling she both welcomed and feared. In the days that followed, life at the ranch adjusted to accommodate its newest member. Hannah named her son David after her father. Priscilla took on more responsibilities, caring for both Lily and the household while Hannah recovered from the birth. Vaughn was a constant presence, helping wherever he could, often taking Lily when Priscilla's hands were full. The little girl had grown attached to him, smiling whenever he entered a room, reaching for him when he was near. And Priscilla found herself watching them together, a longing growing in her heart that she tried desperately to ignore. One evening, about a week after David's birth, Vaughn found Priscilla on the porch of the main house enjoying a rare moment of quiet. Lily and David were both finally asleep, and Hannah was resting. "You should rest too," Vaughn said, joining her on the porch swing. "You've been working non-stop." "I don't mind," Priscilla replied. "Hannah needs the help and She paused. "I like feeling useful, needed." Vaughn's gaze was warm in the fading light. "You're more than useful, Priscilla. You're a blessing to this family." "I don't know what we would have done without you when David came early." His sincerity touched her deeply. "Thank you for saying that." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the swing moving gently beneath them. "I've been thinking," Vaughn said finally, "about what you told me. About Lily's father being wanted in the territory." Priscilla tensed. "What about it?" "I spoke with Sheriff Matthews in town yesterday. Told him to keep an eye out for the man. Didn't mention you or Lily, just that I'd heard he might be in the area." Relief and gratitude washed through her. "Thank you, I've been worried." "I know." Vaughn's hand found hers on the swing between them, his touch gentle but firm. "But you don't have to worry alone anymore, not while you're here." Priscilla looked down at their joined hands, then up at his face. In the gathering dusk, his features were softened, his eyes intense. "Vaughn," she began, his first name feeling foreign and intimate on her lips. The sound of approaching riders interrupted whatever she might have said. Vaughn was on his feet instantly, his hand going to the gun at his hip. "Stay here," he ordered, moving to the edge of the porch. 4 riders approached the house, their outlines dark against the twilight sky. As they drew closer, Priscilla recognized one of them as Mitch Calhoun, the man who had come with Blackwell's offer before. "Adler," Calhoun called, stopping his horse a short distance from the porch. "Got a message from Mr. Blackwell." "I already gave him my answer," Vaughn replied, his voice hard. Calhoun dismounted, followed by his companions. "Mr. Blackwell thought you might reconsider, times being what they are." "My answer's still no," Vaughn said. "Now get off my property." Calhoun's face hardened. "That's not how this works, Adler. Blackwell wants the water rights. One way or another, he's going to get them." One of the other men moved, his hand drifting toward his gun. Without hesitation, Vaughn drew his own weapon. "Don't," he warned. "You're outnumbered, but I guarantee I'll take at least 2 of you with me." The tension was palpable. Priscilla's heart raced, fear for Vaughn overwhelming her. Suddenly, the cabin door opened and Hannah appeared, David in her arms. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice carrying in the quiet evening. Calhoun's eyes shifted to Hannah and the baby. A slow smile spread across his face. "Well now, congratulations seem to be in order." "Daniel's boy, I presume. Leave them out of this," Vaughn growled. "Oh, but they're very much in this," Calhoun replied. "You see, Blackwell knows you won't sell for your own sake, but for theirs." He gestured to Hannah, then to Priscilla. "For the women and children under your protection." That might change things. Priscilla felt cold dread seep into her bones. This was no longer just about water rights. This was a threat against everyone Vaughn cared about. "You have 3 days," Calhoun continued, "to accept Blackwell's offer after that." He shrugged, the implication clear. "Get out," Vaughn said, his voice deadly quiet. "Now." Calhoun and his men mounted their horses, but before they rode away, Calhoun turned back. 3 days, Adler. Then we'll be back." After they disappeared into the darkness, Vaughn remained tense, watching the road long after they were gone. "What are we going to do?" Hannah asked, her voice trembling. Vaughn turned to them, his expression grim. "First, we get inside, then we make a plan." Inside the house, with the doors locked and lamps lit, Vaughn paced the living room while Hannah sat with David and Priscilla checked on Lily, who thankfully had slept through the confrontation. "We should send for Daniel," Hannah suggested. "If the herd is close enough, the drive won't be back for at least 2 weeks," Vaughn replied. "And I won't risk sending a rider who might lead Blackwell's men straight to Daniel." "Then what?" Priscilla asked. "We can't fight them alone." Vaughn stopped pacing, his decision made. "Tomorrow I'll take you all to town. You'll stay at the hotel while I ride to Fort Richardson. The Army might help if I explain the situation." "That's a 2-day ride at least," Hannah protested. "You'd never make it back in time." "It's our best option," Vaughn insisted. "I won't risk your safety or the children's." Priscilla thought of Thomas's wanted poster in town. If he was in the area, going to Cottonwood Springs might put Lily in as much danger as staying here. "What if we don't go?" she suggested. "What if we stand our ground?" Vaughn looked at her, surprise evident in his expression. "That's too dangerous." "So is running," Priscilla argued. "Blackwell's men will be watching the roads, and town isn't necessarily safer. It's one building, easy to find us." She took a deep breath. "But the ranch has places to hide, to defend, and they won't expect us to stay." Vaughn considered her words. "It's still too risky." "What if we could get help here?" Priscilla continued, an idea forming. "Are there other ranchers in the area who might stand with you against Blackwell?" "A few," Vaughn admitted, "but they're scattered and Blackwell has intimidated most of them." "What about the sheriff?" Hannah suggested. Vaughn shook his head. "Matthews is a good man, but he's one person. He can't stand against Blackwell's crew." They debated options late into the night, but no perfect solution presented itself. Finally, exhausted, they agreed to sleep on it and decide in the morning. Priscilla returned to the cabin with Lily, her mind still racing with possibilities and fears. She had just settled Lily in her cradle when a soft knock came at the door. "It's me," Vaughn's voice called quietly. She opened the door to find him standing there, his expression troubled. "I can't sleep," he admitted. "I keep thinking about what you said about standing our ground." "Come in," Priscilla invited. Inside, Vaughn moved to check on Lily, a gesture that had become natural to him over the weeks. The tenderness in his face as he looked at her daughter made Priscilla's heart ache. "You were right earlier," he said, turning back to her. "Running might be more dangerous than staying, but I can't bear the thought of any of you being hurt." "And we can't bear the thought of you facing this alone," Priscilla replied. "This is our home too now." The words slipped out before she could stop them. Vaughn's eyes widened slightly. "Is it?" he asked softly. "Your home?" Priscilla hesitated, then nodded. "It has become so, yes, for Lily and me both." Vaughn moved closer, his gaze never leaving her face. "I'm glad to hear that, because I can't imagine this place without you anymore." The air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken emotions. Priscilla's heart thundered in her chest. "Vaughn," she whispered. He raised a hand to her cheek, his touch gentle. "I know you've been hurt, that you have reason not to trust. But I want you to know that what I feel for you, for Lily, it's real, it's true." Priscilla closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. "I'm afraid," she admitted. "Not of Blackwell or even of Lily's father. I'm afraid of hoping again, of believing again." "I understand," Vaughn said. "And I'll wait as long as it takes, but I wanted you to know how I feel in case—" "Don't," Priscilla interrupted, opening her eyes to look at him. "Don't talk as if you might not come back." Vaughn's smile was sad. "I'll do everything in my power to protect this ranch and everyone on it. But Blackwell is dangerous, and I'm just one man." The thought of losing him, now that she had finally found someone worthy of her trust, was unbearable. Without thinking, Priscilla closed the distance between them, pressing her lips to his in a desperate kiss. Vaughn responded immediately, his arms encircling her, holding her as if she were the most precious thing in the world. The kiss deepened, years of loneliness and longing pouring out between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Vaughn rested his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that since the day I found you under that cottonwood tree," he confessed. Priscilla smiled through tears she hadn't realized were falling. "I think I've wanted it too, though I was too stubborn to admit it." Vaughn chuckled, wiping away her tears with his thumb. "You're the strongest woman I've ever known, Priscilla Jones. And if we survive this, I want to build a life with you and Lily." The offer, the promise, was everything she had ever wanted and had stopped believing she could have. "If we survive this," she agreed, "then yes. 1,000 times yes." Vaughn kissed her again, sealing the promise between them. Then, reluctantly, he stepped back. "I should go," he said. "We need to be ready for whatever tomorrow brings." Priscilla nodded, though every fiber of her being wanted him to stay. "Tomorrow," she agreed. "We'll face it together." After Vaughn left, Priscilla checked on Lily one more time before crawling into bed. Despite the danger looming over them, her heart felt lighter than it had in years. Vaughn Adler loved her daughter, wanted a future with them both. Now they just had to survive to claim that future. Morning came too quickly. Priscilla dressed hurriedly and made her way to the main house with Lily. Inside, she found Vaughn and Hannah already awake, speaking in low voices at the kitchen table. "I've made a decision," Vaughn announced as Priscilla joined them. "I'm going to ride to the Peterson place today. Jack Peterson was my father's friend. He might be willing to help." "And if he's not?" Hannah asked. "Then I'll try the Millers and the Thompsons after that." Vaughn's expression was determined. "I won't give up without a fight." "What can we do?" Priscilla asked. "Prepare," Vaughn replied, "in case we need to defend the house. Hannah knows where the guns are kept, and there's a cellar beneath the kitchen floor where you can hide if it comes to that." The gravity of the situation settled over them. This wasn't just about water rights anymore. It was about their lives, their future. After breakfast, Vaughn prepared to leave. In the barn, as he saddled his horse, Priscilla stood nearby, Lily in her arms. "Be careful," she urged. "Blackwell's men might be watching the roads." "I'll take the back trails," Vaughn assured her. "They're harder to follow." He paused in his work, turning to face her. "Priscilla, if I don't make it back—" "Don't," she interrupted. "You'll come back, you have to." Vaughn stepped closer, one hand coming up to cup her cheek. "I love you," he said simply. "I should have said it last night. I love you, and I love Lily as if she were my own." The words, so heartfelt and honest, brought tears to Priscilla's eyes. "We love you too," she whispered. "Both of us." Vaughn kissed her, then bent to press a gentle kiss to Lily's forehead. The baby gurgled happily, reaching for him. "I'll be back by nightfall," he promised. "With help, God willing." Priscilla watched him ride away, a sense of foreboding settling over her despite his assurances. She returned to the house where Hannah waited, David in her arms. "He'll be all right," Hannah said, though her voice betrayed her own worry. "Vaughn knows these lands better than anyone." The day stretched endlessly before them. Priscilla kept herself busy with chores, checking the windows frequently for any sign of riders, either Vaughn returning or Blackwell's men approaching. By mid-afternoon, both babies were napping, and Priscilla and Hannah sat at the kitchen table, cleaning guns they hoped they wouldn't need to use. "Vaughn told me about you too," Hannah said suddenly, a small smile playing at her lips. "About how he feels." Priscilla blushed. "He did," Hannah nodded. "This morning, before you came in, he said he's never felt this way about anyone before." She reached across the table to squeeze Priscilla's hand. "I'm glad. You both deserve happiness." "Thank you," Priscilla said, deeply touched by Hannah's acceptance. "I never expected to find someone like him, someone who could love Lily as his own." "That's Vaughn," Hannah replied. "When he loves completely." Her expression grew serious. "Which is why he'll do anything to protect us all." The sound of approaching horses made them both freeze. Hannah moved to the window, peering out cautiously. "It's not Vaughn," she reported, her voice tight with fear. 4 riders. Blackwell's men. Priscilla's heart raced. "They're early. Vaughn said we had 3 days." "Blackwell's not known for keeping his word," Hannah replied, moving quickly to check that the doors were locked. "We need to get the babies to the cellar." They worked swiftly, gathering the sleeping infants and essential supplies. Hannah showed Priscilla the hidden entrance to the cellar beneath a rug in the kitchen. "Take them down," Hannah instructed. "I'll get the guns." "I'm not leaving you up here alone," Priscilla protested. Hannah's expression was determined. "I can handle myself. My father taught me to shoot before I could ride, but the babies need protection more than I do." Reluctantly, Priscilla descended into the cellar with Lily and David. The space was small but sturdy, with shelves of preserved food and a few crates that could serve as makeshift beds for the infants. Hannah handed down a lantern, a canteen of water, and 2 revolvers before closing the trapdoor. Priscilla could hear her dragging something heavy across it, securing their hiding place. In the dim light of the cellar, Priscilla arranged the sleeping babies as comfortably as possible, then positioned herself near the ladder, gun in hand. Above, she could hear muffled voices as the riders reached the house. "Adler," a voice called Calhoun, she thought. "We know you're in there." Hannah's response was too muffled to make out. Then came the sound of boots on the porch, a fist pounding on the door. "Open up or we'll break it down." Priscilla's hands shook as she gripped the revolver. If they found the cellar, she would have to defend the children. The thought of killing someone terrified her, but not as much as the thought of failing to protect Lily and David. Above, she heard the crash of breaking glass, followed by Hannah's shout. A gunshot rang out, then another. Priscilla bit her lip to keep from crying out, tears streaming down her face as she imagined Hannah falling, hurt or worse. More crashes, the sound of furniture being overturned. Men's voices, angry and frustrated, they were searching the house. "Where are they?" a voice demanded. "The babies, the other woman." "Gone," Hannah's voice replied, strong despite everything. "I sent them away this morning." "You're lying," the man growled. "Search all you want," Hannah challenged. "They're not here." The sounds of searching continued, growing closer to the kitchen. Priscilla held her breath, praying the cellar entrance would remain hidden. A sudden crash directly above made her jump. They were in the kitchen now. She could hear boots scraping across the floor, only inches from where she hid with the children. Then, unexpectedly, came the sound of more hoofbeats approaching, followed by shouting outside. "Riders coming. Lots of them." The men in the house cursed, their footsteps retreating rapidly. Gunshots rang out, but not inside the house, outside, an exchange of fire between 2 groups. Priscilla waited, heart pounding, unsure if this was rescue or just more danger. The babies, disturbed by the noise, began to stir and whimper. After what seemed like an eternity, the gunfire ceased. Footsteps approached the kitchen again, but slower this time. "Hannah," a familiar voice called. "Hannah, are you all right?" "Vaughn." Hannah's relieved cry confirmed what Priscilla had hoped. "We're here. Priscilla and the babies are in the cellar." The heavy object was dragged away and the trapdoor lifted. Light flooded the cellar, revealing Vaughn's worried face. "Priscilla, are you hurt?" "We're fine," she assured him, gathering Lily in one arm while carefully lifting David with the other. The babies slept through most of it. Vaughn descended the ladder quickly, taking David from her before helping her up into the kitchen. The room was a mess, broken dishes, overturned furniture, but Hannah stood amid the chaos, a rifle still in her hands, looking shaken but unharmed. "What happened?" Priscilla asked, looking from Hannah to Vaughn. "Who was shooting?" "Help arrived," Vaughn explained, passing David to Hannah before turning back to embrace Priscilla and Lily. "Jack Peterson and his sons, the Miller brothers, even old Thompson and his ranch hands. They came with me to make a stand against Blackwell." "And Blackwell's men?" Hannah asked. "Fled once they realized they were outnumbered," Vaughn replied. "But not before 2 of them were wounded. They won't be coming back anytime soon." Relief washed over Priscilla. "It's over." Vaughn's expression grew serious. "Not entirely. Blackwell himself wasn't here. He'll be furious when he learns what happened. But now he knows we're not standing alone. The other ranchers have agreed to form an alliance. Together, we're stronger than Blackwell." Priscilla sagged against him. the adrenaline of the past hours finally fading, leaving her exhausted. "Let's get you sitting down," Vaughn said gently, guiding her to one of the few chairs still upright. As she settled with Lily, men began entering the house, neighbors and friends coming to check on them, to help clean up the mess left by Blackwell's men. Priscilla watched in amazement as the community she hadn't known existed rallied around them. Later, after the house was put back in order and the other ranchers had departed with promises to keep watch on the roads, Priscilla found herself alone with Vaughn on the porch. Inside, Hannah was resting with David. "I was so afraid you wouldn't come back," Priscilla admitted, leaning against him as they sat on the swing. "I promised I would," Vaughn replied, his arm around her shoulders, "and I keep my promises." Priscilla looked up at him, this man who had changed her life in so many ways. "What happens now?" "Now," Vaughn said, "we rebuild what was damaged. We stay vigilant, and we live our lives not in fear but in hope." He paused, his eyes searching hers. "If you still want that life we talked about." "I do," Priscilla said without hesitation. "More than anything." Vaughn smiled, leaning down to kiss her softly. "Then that's what we'll do, together." In the weeks that followed, life at Willow Creek Ranch settled into a new rhythm. Daniel returned from the cattle drive, overjoyed at the birth of his son and fiercely protective of his family after learning of Blackwell's threats. The alliance of local ranchers held firm. Blackwell made no further direct moves against them, though rumors suggested he was biding his time, looking for weaknesses. And then, unexpectedly, came an invitation. "From Victoria Blackwell," Hannah said, handing the envelope to Vaughn. Delivered by her personal maid, not one of Blackwell's men. Vaughn opened it, his expression guarded as he read. "She's inviting us to a gathering at Raven Ridge, all of us, including you and Priscilla and the children." "It could be a trap," Daniel warned. "I don't think so," Priscilla said thoughtfully. "Victoria seemed different from her husband. When we met her in town, she was genuinely kind." "It might be an opportunity," Vaughn suggested. "To meet with Blackwell on neutral ground, try to reach an understanding." After much discussion, they decided to accept the invitation. A week later, they rode to Raven Ridge Ranch, uncertain what awaited them. The Blackwell estate was impressive, a large main house surrounded by well-maintained grounds, stables, and outbuildings. Clearly, James Blackwell had prospered while smaller ranchers struggled. Victoria Blackwell greeted them personally at the door, elegant in a blue dress that emphasized her regal bearing. "Welcome to Raven Ridge," she said warmly. "I'm so pleased you could come." Inside, several other local families were already gathered, conversation flowing easily despite the underlying tension of rival ranchers in the same room. James Blackwell himself approached them, a tall man with cold eyes and a calculated smile. "Adler," he acknowledged. "Quite a show of force you arranged at your place. Impressive." "Just protecting what's ours," Vaughn replied evenly. Blackwell's gaze shifted to Priscilla and Lily. "And this must be the young woman my men mentioned, Miss Jones," Priscilla supplied. "Priscilla Jones." Something flickered in Blackwell's eyes at her name, but it was gone so quickly Priscilla thought she might have imagined it. "Welcome to Raven Ridge, Miss Jones," he said smoothly. "And who is this beautiful child?" "My daughter, Lily," Priscilla replied, holding her daughter closer instinctively. Blackwell nodded, his expression unreadable. "Enjoy the gathering," he said before moving away to greet other guests. As the evening progressed, Priscilla found herself increasingly uneasy. Not because of anything specific, but a general sense of being watched. Vaughn stayed close to her side, equally alert. Midway through the evening, Victoria Blackwell approached them, her expression serious. "Mr. Adler, Miss Jones, would you join me in the study for a moment? There's something I wish to discuss privately. Exchanging a glance with Vaughn, Priscilla nodded. They followed Victoria to a well-appointed study at the back of the house, where she closed the door behind them. I apologize for the mystery, Victoria said, but this is a delicate matter. It concerns you, Miss Jones, and your daughter. Priscilla tensed. What about us? Victoria moved to a desk, retrieving a piece of paper. This arrived from my husband last week, from a man named Thomas Edwards. The name sent a chill through Priscilla. Lily's father, she whispered. Victoria nodded. He wrote to my husband seeking employment, mentioning that he'd heard rumors of a woman and child matching your description in the area. He expressed interest in locating you. Vaughn stepped forward protectively. And what did your husband do with this information? Nothing yet, Victoria replied. James doesn't know I've seen the letter. He's away on business until tomorrow, which is why I arranged this gathering tonight. She looked directly at Priscilla. I wanted to warn you. My husband is not a kind man, Miss Jones. If he believes he can use you or your child as leverage against Mr. Adler, he will. Priscilla's mind raced with fear and confusion. Why are you telling us this? Why help us? Victoria's expression softened. Because I know what it's like to be at the mercy of men with power. And because I have no quarrel with you or your child. She paused. I cannot control my husband's business dealings, but I will not be party to threatening children. Thank you, Vaughn said sincerely, for the warning. Victoria handed the letter to Priscilla. Take this. It has Edward's last known location. You may need it if he comes looking for you. Priscilla accepted the paper with trembling hands. I don't know how to thank you. Just keep that child safe, Victoria replied. Now we should return to the gathering before our absence is noted. They rejoined the party, but Priscilla's mind was elsewhere. Thomas was looking for them. The nightmare she had feared was becoming reality. As soon as they returned to Willow Creek Ranch that night, Vaughn called a family meeting. Daniel, Hannah, Priscilla, and Vaughn gathered in the living room after the children were asleep, discussing Victoria's warning. We need to be prepared, Daniel said grimly. If this Thomas Edwards joins forces with Blackwell, they'll be doubly dangerous. But why would Blackwell help him? Hannah wondered. What does he gain? Leverage, Vaughn explained. If Edwards has a legal claim to Lily as her father, Blackwell could use that against us, against Priscilla. The thought of losing her daughter made Priscilla feel physically ill. He has no claim, she insisted. He abandoned us before Lily was even born. The law might see it differently, Daniel said gently, especially if he claims he never knew about the baby. Vaughn's expression hardened. Then we need to make sure the law is on our side. He turned to Priscilla, taking her hands in his. Priscilla, I know we talked about building a life together, taking our time, but in light of this threat, would you consider marrying me now, as soon as possible? The proposal, though practical in its timing, still made Priscilla's heart skip a beat. How would that help? As my wife, you'd have my protection under the law, and if we formally adopt Lily, Edward's claim would be significantly weakened, Vaughn explained. But more than that, I love you, both of you. I want us to be a family in every way that matters. Priscilla looked into his eyes and saw nothing but sincerity and love. This wasn't just a strategic move, it was the culmination of feelings that had been growing since the day they met. Yes, she said without hesitation. Yes, I'll marry you. 2 days later, they were wed in a simple ceremony in the Cottonwood Springs Church, with Daniel, Hannah, and a few close neighbors as witnesses. Lily, dressed in a new white gown sewn by Hannah, was held by Vaughn throughout the ceremony, a symbol of the family they were creating. I now pronounce you husband and wife, the minister declared. Mr. and Mrs. Vaughn Adler. As Vaughn kissed her, Priscilla felt a sense of rightness, of homecoming. For so long she had believed she would be alone forever, that no man would ever love both her and her child. Yet here was Vaughn, holding Lily in one arm while the other encircled Priscilla, claiming them both as his own. After the ceremony, they filed the adoption papers with the county clerk, beginning the legal process of making Lily officially an Adler. It might take some time, the clerk warned. "These things usually do. We'll wait as long as necessary," Vaughn replied. "She's already our daughter in every way that matters." They returned to the ranch that evening to a celebration prepared by Hannah and the neighboring women. The small house was filled with laughter, music, and good wishes. As Priscilla watched Vaughn dance with Lily in his arms, the baby giggling with delight, she felt a contentment she had never expected to find. This was her family now, her home. The happiness was tempered only by the knowledge that Thomas Edwards was still out there, possibly working with Blackwell. But for tonight, at least, they would celebrate the love that had brought them together. Later, after the guests had departed and the house was quiet, Vaughn and Priscilla stood on the porch of their cabin, no longer just hers, but theirs. Lily slept peacefully inside, exhausted from the day's excitement. "Happy, Mrs. Adler?" Vaughn asked, his arms around her waist as they gazed at the stars. "Very," Priscilla replied, leaning into his embrace. "Though I still can't quite believe it's real." Vaughn turned her gently to face him. "It's real," he assured her, "and whatever comes, we'll face it together." "Together," Priscilla agreed, rising on her toes to kiss him. The peace of their wedding night was shattered the next morning by the arrival of Sheriff Matthews. The lawman rode up to the ranch house as they were finishing breakfast, his expression grim. "Vaughn," he called as he dismounted. "Need to talk to you." Vaughn stepped onto the porch, Priscilla following with Lily in her arms. "What is it, Sheriff?" Matthews removed his hat, nodding respectfully to Priscilla. "Madam, congratulations on your wedding." He turned back to Vaughn. "Got some troubling news." Thomas Edwards was released from the jail in Fort Worth 2 days ago. Charges were dropped mysteriously. Priscilla's blood ran cold. "How is that possible? He was wanted in 3 territories." "Money talks," Matthews replied grimly. "And word is he had help from a wealthy benefactor." "Blackwell," Vaughn said flatly. Matthews nodded. "Can't prove it, but that's my guess. Thought you should know. Edwards was asking questions about this area before he left Fort Worth." "Thank you for the warning," Vaughn said, his arm going protectively around Priscilla. After the sheriff departed, they gathered in the house to discuss this new development. "We need to be ready," Daniel insisted. "Double the watches. Make sure someone's always with the women and children." Vaughn nodded. "And we should send word to the other ranchers in the alliance. If Blackwell's bringing in outside help, they need to be alert too." Priscilla held Lily close, fear and determination warring within her. "I won't let him take her," she said fiercely. "I'll die first." "It won't come to that," Vaughn promised. "We have the law on our side now. You're my wife, and Lily's adoption is in process. Edwards has no legal claim." Despite his reassurances, they all knew that legalities might mean little if Blackwell and Edwards were determined to use force. The ranch became a fortress over the next few days, with constant watches and preparations for defense. A week after their wedding, Priscilla was hanging laundry while Lily napped inside, Hannah keeping watch over both babies. The day was warm, the sky a brilliant blue. Despite the underlying tension, the peaceful routine of ranch life continued. The sound of an approaching wagon made Priscilla pause in her work. Visitors were rare these days, with everyone on alert. She shaded her eyes, trying to make out who was coming. To her surprise, she recognized Victoria Blackwell driving the wagon herself, with no escort or servants. "Mrs. Adler," Victoria called as she drew closer. "I hope I'm not intruding." "Not at all," Priscilla replied, though she remained cautious. "Please come in." Victoria tied her horse and followed Priscilla into the house. Hannah looked up in surprise from her mending. "Mrs. Blackwell," she acknowledged, "this is unexpected." "I apologize for coming unannounced," Victoria said, "but I felt you should know what's happening at Raven Ridge." Priscilla sent one of the ranch hands to fetch Vaughn and Daniel from the fields while she prepared tea. When the men arrived, Victoria explained her presence. "James has hired Thomas Edwards," she confirmed their suspicions. "He arrived at Raven Ridge 3 days ago. They're planning something, though I don't know what exactly. James no longer includes me in his business discussions." "Why are you telling us this?" Daniel asked, his tone suspicious. Victoria's expression was resolute. "Because what my husband is doing is wrong. He's become obsessed with acquiring more land, more water rights, no matter the cost. And now he's involving an unsavory character who's clearly targeting a child." She looked directly at Priscilla. "I have my own son, Mrs. Adler. I could not live with myself if I stood by while a mother was separated from her child." "Your husband won't be pleased if he learns you've come here," Vaughn observed. "No, he won't," Victoria agreed. "But I've endured his displeasure before. It's a small price to pay for doing what's right." They discussed options, strategies for dealing with the threat. Victoria provided valuable information about Blackwell's men, their numbers and usual routines. "He's planning something for soon," she warned as she prepared to leave. "Edwards is impatient and James sees an opportunity with the drought worsening." "Thank you," Priscilla said sincerely, walking Victoria to her wagon, "for everything." Victoria surprised her with a brief, fierce hug. "Be careful, Mrs. Adler, and keep that beautiful child safe." After Victoria's departure, they reinforced their precautions. No one went anywhere alone. Guns were kept loaded and close at hand. The children were never left without multiple adults nearby. 3 days later, a messenger arrived from town with an official-looking document. "For Mrs. Priscilla Adler," the young boy said, handing over the envelope. Inside was a summons from the territorial court. Thomas Edwards had filed a legal claim for custody of Lily, alleging that Priscilla had kidnapped their child and fled across state lines. "This is absurd," Priscilla cried, hands shaking as she read the document. "He knew I was pregnant when he left. He told me to take care of it and then stole my savings." Vaughn took the paper, reading it carefully. "The hearing is set for next week in Fort Worth." "That's 2 days' journey from here." "I won't go," Priscilla declared. "I won't bring Lily anywhere near him." "If you don't appear, the court might rule in his favor by default," Daniel warned. Vaughn paced the room, thinking, "We need a lawyer and witnesses who can testify to Edward's character, to the fact that he abandoned you." "But who?" Priscilla asked desperately. "Everyone who knew us is back east." Hannah placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We'll figure this out. We won't let him take Lily." That night, unable to sleep, Priscilla sat by Lily's cradle watching her daughter's peaceful slumber. Vaughn found her there, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders before sitting beside her. "We'll fight this," he promised, "with everything we have." Priscilla leaned against him, drawing strength from his solid presence. "I'm so afraid, Vaughn. What if the law sides with him? He's her natural father, and I'm her father by choice," Vaughn replied firmly. "By love. That has to count for something." They spent the next few days preparing for the journey to Fort Worth. Vaughn sent messages to every contact he had, seeking legal advice and support. Daniel would stay behind with Hannah and baby David to protect the ranch. The night before they were to depart, an unexpected visitor arrived. Sheriff Matthews rode up to the ranch as dusk was falling, dismounting quickly. "Vaughn, Priscilla," he called urgently. "I've got news you need to hear." Inside, the sheriff declined offers of food or drink, too intent on delivering his message. "Edwards was in town today," he reported. "Drinking heavily at the saloon, talking too much. Said he doesn't actually want the child, just wants to hurt you, Priscilla, for ruining his life by telling people he was the father." Matthews looked disgusted. "Said Blackwell's paying him well to create trouble for the Adlers." "So it is just about hurting us," Vaughn said grimly. "Using Lily as a weapon." "Seems so," Matthews agreed. "But there's more. While Edwards was drinking, I had my deputy search his room at the hotel, found these." He pulled several documents from his coat. "Forged papers claiming Edwards and Priscilla were married back east. He's planning to present them at the hearing." Priscilla gasped. "That's outrageous. We were never married." "I figured as much," Matthews said. "But these forgeries are good. Might have fooled a judge who doesn't know better." Vaughn examined the papers. "This changes things. If he's presenting fraudulent evidence, we can have him arrested." "Already working on that," Matthews assured them. "But Edwards disappeared after leaving the saloon. We're searching for him now." The news was both a relief and a new worry. Edward's true intentions were now clear, but his disappearance meant he could be anywhere, possibly even planning to take matters into his own hands rather than wait for the court hearing. "Double the watches tonight," Vaughn instructed after Matthews left. "I don't want anyone moving around the ranch alone." That night, Priscilla slept fitfully, Lily in the cradle beside their bed. Vaughn dozed in a chair by the window, rifle across his lap. Every sound from outside made them both tense. Dawn was just breaking when they heard the crack of a gunshot from the direction of the main house. Vaughn was on his feet instantly. "Stay here," he ordered. "Lock the door behind me." "Vaughn, no," Priscilla protested. "Don't leave us." "I have to check on Daniel and Hannah," he insisted. "I'll be back. Keep your gun ready." After he left, Priscilla barricaded the door with a heavy chest, then lifted Lily from her cradle. The baby stirred but didn't wake. Priscilla positioned herself in the corner of the room furthest from the door and windows, revolver in hand, Lily cradled against her chest. More gunshots rang out closer now. Men's voices shouted orders. Then came the sound she dreaded most, boots on the porch of their cabin, followed by a pounding on the door. "Priscilla," a voice called, not Vaughn's, but vaguely familiar. "I know you're in there. Open up, Thomas." After all this time, the sound of his voice still made her skin crawl. "Go away," she called. "The sheriff knows what you're planning. The forgeries were found." A curse, then the sound of something heavy hitting the door. He was trying to break in. Priscilla steadied her grip on the revolver, her resolve hardening. She would not let this man take her child. Not now, not ever. The door splintered under another heavy blow. One more would likely break it open. Priscilla cocked the revolver, aiming at where Thomas would appear. Another crash, and the door gave way. Thomas Edwards stood in the doorway, a wild look in his eyes. He had changed in the month since she'd last seen him, thinner, harder, with a cruel set to his mouth that had only been hinted at before. "There you are," he said, a terrible smile spreading across his face. "And my daughter, too. How touching." "She's not your daughter," Priscilla said coldly. "You gave up any right to her when you abandoned us." Thomas stepped into the cabin, seemingly unconcerned by the gun pointed at his chest. "Now, that's not how the law sees it. A child belongs with her father." "Her father is Vaughn Adler," Priscilla replied. "The man who loves her, who's raised her, who calls her his own." Thomas's face twisted with anger. "That child is mine, my blood, and Blackwell's paying me well to bring her to him." He took another step forward. "Put down the gun, Priscilla. You won't shoot me." "You never had the spine for hard choices." "I've changed," Priscilla said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Motherhood does that to a woman, makes her capable of anything to protect her child." Thomas lunged forward suddenly, clearly hoping to catch her off guard. Priscilla fired without hesitation. The bullet caught him in the shoulder, spinning him back against the wall. "You shot me," he gasped, clutching his bleeding shoulder. "You actually shot me." "I told you I've changed," Priscilla replied, keeping the gun trained on him. "Now get out of my house, away from my daughter, or the next bullet goes somewhere more vital." Thomas stared at her, seeing for the first time the woman she had become, not the naive girl he had taken advantage of, but a mother willing to fight to the death for her child. Before he could respond, more gunshots sounded outside, followed by the pounding of hooves. Thomas glanced over his shoulder, his expression suddenly uncertain. "Blackwell said this would be easy," he muttered. "Said the woman would be alone with the baby." "Blackwell was wrong," came Vaughn's voice from the doorway. He stood there, rifle aimed at Thomas, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead but otherwise unharmed. "My wife is never alone, and neither is our daughter." The sound of more horses approaching drew their attention. Through the broken door, Priscilla could see riders coming, Sheriff Matthews and several deputies, as well as ranchers from neighboring properties. Thomas, seeing his position was hopeless, slowly raised his hands. "This isn't over," he warned. "Blackwell won't stop just because I failed." "Yes, he will," said another voice. Victoria Blackwell stepped into view behind Vaughn. "Because if he doesn't, I'll testify about everything he's done. Every crooked deal, every bribe, every threat." Her expression was determined. "My husband values his reputation and freedom too much to risk that." Sheriff Matthews entered, taking charge of Thomas. "Thomas Edwards, you're under arrest for assault, attempted kidnapping, and fraud. You'll be facing a judge in Fort Worth, but I don't think you'll like the outcome this time." As Matthews led Thomas away, Victoria approached Priscilla. "Are you and the baby all right?" Priscilla nodded, finally lowering the revolver as the danger passed. "Thanks to you. How did you know to bring help?" "I overheard James and Edwards planning the attack," Victoria explained. "As soon as I could, I rode to town to alert the sheriff, then came here directly." She hesitated. "I should have warned you sooner about what kind of man my husband is. I'm sorry." "You've more than made up for it," Vaughn assured her, moving to Priscilla's side to check on her and Lily. "Without your warning, this could have ended very differently." Outside, they could hear Sheriff Matthews giving orders to his deputies and the concerned voices of neighbors who had come to help. The immediate danger had passed, but all of them knew that James Blackwell remained a threat. "What will you do now?" Priscilla asked Victoria. The older woman's expression was resolute. "What I should have done years ago. Leave James. I have my own inheritance, enough to live comfortably elsewhere, perhaps back east where my family is." She looked at Lily, who had awakened during the commotion but remained surprisingly calm in her mother's arms. Life is too short to spend it with someone who values power more than people. In the days that followed, the territory was abuzz with scandal. James Blackwell, confronted with his wife's knowledge of his illegal activities and the testimony of Thomas Edwards, who had decided cooperation might reduce his sentence, found himself facing criminal charges. The legal claim against Lily was dropped. Instead, the court expedited Vaughn's adoption petition, making official what had been true in their hearts from the beginning, that Lily was an Adler, beloved daughter of Vaughn and Priscilla. Victoria Blackwell, true to her word, filed for divorce and prepared to return east. Before she left, she visited Willow Creek Ranch one last time. "I wanted to say goodbye," she told Priscilla as they sat on the porch, watching Vaughn in the yard with Lily, teaching her to take her first tentative steps, and to see the little one who, in a way, changed everything. Priscilla smiled, watching her daughter laugh as Vaughn swung her up into his arms. She has a way of bringing out the best in people. She's fortunate to have found a father who loves her so completely, Victoria observed. Not every child is so blessed. Nor every woman, Priscilla added softly. I thought I'd be alone forever after Thomas left. I never imagined finding someone who would love both me and my child. Victoria's gaze was thoughtful. Perhaps that's why I felt compelled to help. I recognized in you what I wish I had found: true partnership, true love. She smiled. I'm glad for you, Priscilla. Truly. After Victoria's departure, life at Willow Creek Ranch settled into a peaceful rhythm. The alliance of small ranchers, strengthened by their stand against Blackwell, worked together to survive the drought. When the rains finally came that fall, they celebrated together, grateful for the renewal of the land and their livelihoods. Lily's first birthday was marked with a joyous gathering of family and friends. She was walking confidently by then, chattering in her baby language, beloved by everyone on the ranch. She looks just like you, Hannah remarked to Priscilla as they watched Lily toddle after her cousin David in the yard. But she has Vaughn's spirit, Priscilla replied with a smile. Determined, fearless. Vaughn, overhearing as he joined them, wrapped an arm around his wife's waist. She gets that from her mother, he corrected. The most courageous woman I know. That night, after the celebrations ended and Lily was asleep in her bed, she had outgrown the cradle months ago. Priscilla and Vaughn sat on the porch of their cabin, enjoying the cool evening air. Happy? Vaughn asked, just as he had on their wedding night. More than I ever thought possible, Priscilla replied honestly. Vaughn took her hand, his expression growing serious. I have something to tell you. I've been waiting for the right moment. Priscilla's heart quickened. What is it? I received a letter from the land office today. The Johnson property to the east of us is for sale. Their oldest boy got married, and they're moving to California to be closer to his wife's family. And you want to buy it? Priscilla guessed. Vaughn nodded. It would nearly double our grazing land, give us access to another water source. It's a good investment for the future. He paused. For Lily's future, and maybe for her brothers or sisters someday. Priscilla's breath caught at the hope in his voice. Are you asking if I want more children? I'm asking if you want to build something bigger, Vaughn clarified. A larger ranch, a larger family, a legacy for our children. The word "our" still had the power to move her deeply. This man who had taken her in when she was alone and desperate, who had loved her daughter as his own from the moment he held her, was offering her a future beyond anything she had dared to dream. Yes, she said simply. To all of it. The land, the children, the future. Our future. Vaughn's smile was radiant as he pulled her into his arms. I love you, Priscilla Adler. You and Lily are the best things that ever happened to me. And you're the best thing that ever happened to us, Priscilla replied, resting her head against his chest. The day you found us under that cottonwood tree, you didn't just save our lives. You gave us a home, a family, a place to belong. Above them, stars scattered across the vast Texas sky, witnesses to a love that had grown from compassion and kindness into something enduring and true. Priscilla had once thought she would be alone forever, a single mother with no place to call home. Instead, she had found a man who took her baby in his arms and called them his own, who created a family from broken pieces and made it stronger than she had ever imagined possible. And in that moment, with the man she loved by her side and their daughter sleeping peacefully inside, Priscilla knew with absolute certainty that she had found her happy ending not in fairy tales or dreams, but in the reality of a life built with love, courage, and the promise of tomorrow.